The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Chris Burton, who is in this morning for Alex. Alex is on assignment right now. I'm back, of course, from a 2-week vacation, road trip across the country.
Yellowstone. It
Yes.
sounded amazing.
It was absolutely incredible. We got to go the first day it reopened after all the flooding.
Yeah.
So one of the loops is still closed, but we got to see the southern loop, which was really incredible. So I'll share some pictures later, probably,
Amazing.
because they're so fun.
But we do begin this morning as the fallout continues after the Supreme Court's landmark decision on Friday to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, across the country, federal and state lawmakers are trying to figure out what's next as hundreds of thousands of protesters take to the streets. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest from Washington.
People filled the streets across the country this weekend, channeling their anger and expressing their joy.
We are the post-Roe generation!
After Friday's Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe versus Wade, which had been the law of the land for 50 years. Democratic leaders are moving swiftly to protect access to abortion in their states, embracing for an influx of people looking for care. At least 16 states and Washington, D.C. have laws protecting the right to an abortion.
There's a wall in the West Coast protecting the women of the West Coast and the citizens that come from these other states.
But since Friday's decision, at least 10 states immediately restricted abortion access, with many banning the procedure altogether.
The Supreme Court did its job. It fixed a wrong decision it made many years ago and returned this power back to the states, which is how the Constitution and our founders intended it.
This decision and this policy will kill people no matter what.
Some congressional Democrats are urging the White House to explore options like putting abortion clinics in federal buildings in states where the procedure is banned, and to expand access to abortion pills sent through the mail.
This is not just a crisis of Roe. This is a crisis of our democracy. The Supreme Court has dramatically overreached its authority.
The case decided, but the debate in many ways just beginning. Now that the Supreme Court has ruled, the legal fights are not over. We can expect to see legal challenges from abortion rights supporters in states challenging their abortion laws. In fact, suits have already been filed in Utah and Florida. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
And those Roe demonstrations continue here at home. This was the scene outside the Liberty Bell on Truxtun Avenue in downtown Bakersfield around 5:30 last night. You can see activists rallying against the decision to end Roe v. Wade, calling it an attack on women's rights.
When I heard about the overruling, I felt disgusted personally. There are people that die from complications of pregnancy who need to have abortions, and people don't understand that.
But the city has seen demonstrations on both sides. Just a couple days earlier, a small group of anti-abortion activists took to the streets in the same place to celebrate the court's ruling. Organizers of the rally say the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling was a bad decision from the start. They said this week's ruling has the power to change the hearts of those who support abortion.
The Supreme Court can, adjudicate laws and things like that, but it's a supreme God that can change the heart. I think it's better to have the law corrected than to have people believe a lie.
And the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade leaves abortion policy up to states. California has some of the most robust legal protection for abortion in the country. And Governor Gavin Newsom wants to make California a, quote, safe haven for people from other states seeking the procedure. Shelby Nelson with our sister station in Los Angeles has more.
Anger, frustration, and even relief. The difference of opinions runs deep over a decision marking a major turning point across the country. For Redlands resident and OBGYN Karen Hansberger, it's not just about abortion. She says the decision calls into question whether birth control could be next.
I hope that this wakes us up as women, that even if we would not make those decisions for ourselves, that we would care enough about other women and their ability to have safe health care to stand up for them.
Governor Gavin Newsom joined by state leaders staunchly affirming California's stance as a sanctuary state for women across the country.
I want to take this moment and sign legislation to push back against those Republican state legislators and governors that seek to move forward with civil actions against people that wish to travel to the state of California seeking their reproductive rights and reproductive freedoms.
The decision to overturn Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court has opened the floodgates for 26 different states to either restrict abortion or outright ban abortion.
Nicole Ramirez of Planned Parenthood in Orange and San Bernardino County says after last September, when the Texas Heartbeat Act took effect, which banned abortion after the detection of a fetal heartbeat, out-of-state abortions increased by 400%. Now they're bracing for an even greater influx of patients from states that impose stringent abortion laws or ban it altogether.
Because Arizona has a 15-week ban currently and could potentially outright ban abortion, we anticipate people will be driving in from Arizona into California to get that care.
It was a total shock factor among so many people that we spoke with earlier today, and rallies happening across Southern California, including right here in Redlands. You can see just how many people showed up, dozens with their signs here in Redlands. I'm Shelby Nelson, KTLA 5 News.
And Planned Parenthood says it is bracing for a 3,000% increase in patients to many California clinics. According to an estimate from Guttmaker Institute, California will now be the closest state without strict regulations on abortion for nearly 1.4 million women.
Meantime, here at home, first responders say at least one person is injured after a county fire battalion chief's SUV collided with another car on Rosedale Highway near Callaway Drive. It happened about 5 p.m. last night. First responders say the firefighter was crossing through an intersection on the way to a nearby fire, and you can see first responders on the scene. Major damage there to the front of the county fire car and a white sedan. Emergency crews rushed one local woman to a hospital with what first responders called major injuries. There's no word yet on what led up to this crash. We will update this story as more information comes in.
5:07 is your time now, and in your 17 News Homicide Tracker, officials at the Kern Valley State Prison are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide after an alleged attack. Officers say they found two inmates identified as Adrian Garola and Esteban Ceja attacking 35-year-old Hector Jimenez in his room just after 7 p.m. last night. Jimenez was rushed to the prison's treatment center but was pronounced dead at the scene just half an hour later. Law enforcement says they found a weapon made by an inmate. Ceja, one of the alleged attackers, was already serving a life sentence with parole for murder and attempted murder. Garola was serving life for murder, cruelty to animals, and assault with a deadly weapon. Jimenez was serving a 26-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter. We'll bring you new details as we learn more.
In your 17 Homicide Tracker this morning, officials at the Kern Valley State Prison are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide after an alleged attack last night. In your 17 Crime Watch this morning, deputies in Tulare County say they seized $750,000 worth of fentanyl in a massive bust Friday night. First responders were called to Highway 99 near Tulare Avenue in Tulare for a traffic stop. When they arrived, they found 150 packages, each filled with more than 1,000 pills of the deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl. That's 150,000 pills, each worth about $5 a piece, making the street value of the seizure $750,000. Detective arrested 25-year-old Jose Zendejas and 19-year-old Benito Madrigal, both from Washington. They were booked into the Tulare County Jail, facing charges for possessing, transporting, and selling illegal drugs. Fentanyl is responsible for a massive surge in overdose deaths here in Kern County and around the country, leaving more people dead last year than a typical year's worth of murders or car accidents.
First responders have a new life-saving tool in the fight against fentanyl. David Nethers with our sister station in Cleveland, Ohio, has more.
Police body camera shows an officer incapacitated after suspected exposure to fentanyl, something first responders experience on a daily basis.
Several police officers who just touched a little bit of fentanyl and immediately fell out. They were overdosed and rushed to the hospital.
Everyone is affected. Every community, small, large, or in between, is definitely seeing the results of the opioids. First responders, whether it's a sheriff, a policeman, or an EMT, they don't know what they're walking into. So level of protections needed.
In Minerva, Jim Hull's company, Summit Glove, is the first in the United States to earn an FDA approval for a glove certified to protect wearers against contamination from direct exposure.
The gloves were tested for 240 minutes with fentanyl citrate, which is that in a liquid form, and we had no breakthrough.
Typically, when you're dealing with opioids, opiates, fentanyl, the strong narcotics, one method of contamination is penetration or absorption through the skin.
Canton's fire department among the growing number of fire and police departments and hospitals across the country that are beginning to use the glove.
Typically the gloves that we use are single. This is double, and this actually with the green inner liner, if you get a penetration, you can actually tell there's a puncture.
All 22 fire stations in Stark County will be using this glove, we're told. And then they want to bring, we already sell a lot of Summit County.
Decreasing the risk of making a first responder into one more victim.
The FDA endorsement gives us a great amount of confidence in the product, so PPE is paramount in our job.
That was David Nethers reporting. There were more than 200 deaths from fentanyl in Kern County last year, according to District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer. For more on the fentanyl crisis, including 17's Robert Price's Emmy Award-winning series Fentanyl, The Counterfeit Killer, visit our website, kget.com/fentanyl.
From our 17th follow-up file this morning, PG&E's web outage page shows power has finally been restored to customers in Arvin. As we've been reporting, Wednesday evening's outage impacted 5,000 residents. As of last weekend, 3,300 were still without electricity. That outage caused by a lightning strike from last week's summer storm. Residents have been struggling to stay cool, with some deciding to sleep outdoors because it was hot indoors without air conditioning. The Arvin Chamber of Commerce and other organizations have also brought in food and water for those affected.
Having to leave out of the city, like to a park to get fresh air, waking up really early to be out of the apartment because we live on the 3rd floor of the apartment complex and it's like suffocating in there. It's super humid. Not even opening the windows or the door. There's no breeze that goes in, and especially like our side, the sun hits our side, so it's just pure heat that you feel.
PG&E says residents may qualify for the PG&E Safety Net program, which offers $25 to $100 payments to customers who are without power for more than 48 hours. You can find more information by going to our website, kget.com.
An update now on the Thunder Fire, which continues to burn southeast of I-5 near Edmonston Pumping Plant Road. The fire started Wednesday morning. Kern County Fire Department believes it was sparked by a lightning strike. At last check, the fire has burned more than 2,400 acres. Significant progress is being made on the fire. It's now 90% contained.
And making news around town this morning, efforts to serve some of the most vulnerable animals in Kern County. The City of Bakersfield Animal Care Center teaming up with pet rescue pilots, Marley's Mutts and Barks Rescue to give 180 local at-risk dogs a second chance. 17's Marco Torres has more.
A massive rescue effort kicks off this weekend, with more than 50 dogs on their way to forever homes in Canada. One group traveling by car, the other by plane. 130 more dogs will take the same trip over the next few months.
You got to see 30 dogs get on a bus that are bound for Montana. This is just one vehicle that we're using to transport what will be a total of 180 dogs the next couple months.
This comes as the Bakersfield Animal Care Center has been at overcapacity for months. Every time a dog gets adopted or transferred, their spots quickly get replaced by the next stray that's taken in.
Now, these pups have been discarded in our community, and we are doing everything in our power to save lives.
Local dog owners say people should only add pets to their families if they're ready for that responsibility, or overcrowding in local shelters will only continue to get worse.
These shelters, they do not have the capacity to care for all of these animals. You see animals like all the time, the strays, they're all just walking around.
It's so important to just have all animals be adopted because you go and you see the conditions that they're in at some of these places, and the animals deserve better. All animals deserve to have a home.
A seemingly endless influx of stray animals forcing shelters to make tough life or death decisions.
No shelter likes to euthanize at all, and this gives us a little breathing room, but we know tomorrow those kennels will be filled up again.
The City of Bakersfield Animal Care Center is asking everyone to please be responsible and to keep your dogs inside and safe during the 4th of July holiday. From Bakersfield, Marco Torres, 17 News.
All right, well, speaking of dogs, take a look at this one. His name is Mr. Happy Face. He's a 17-year-old rescue dog, and he has now been crowned the world's ugliest dog.
Good for him. Congratulations, Mr. Happy Face. The Chihuahua mix proving his face isn't a face only an owner can love. And what's not to love about that little tongue hanging out to the side of his mouth?
The tongue kills me. Yeah, after rescuing him from a life of neglect, his new owner was told he may not have long to live, sadly. But Mr. Happy Face has since defied the odds and is still loving life and now winning awards. And he and his owner will appear this morning on the Today Show if you just can't get enough of that face.
I can't. I will be watching for sure. That is fantastic.
I just don't, how does the tongue end up just sticking out the side of
just hanging
their
out
mouths? There. Oh, man.
Fantastic.
Fantastic faces there for sure.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.